kick it off. It's JDG on the road to glory, and it's LNG for the first time in a grand final.
Yeah, JDG came in as the big favorites here. Kanabi, 369, Knight, Ruler, right? Like, this team's just insane.
Special experience to hear that in arena, in person. You see the crowd on your screens there.
And the spring champs. Ruler comes to China, immediately wins. This team is just unstoppable. We have a super team. Couple Koreans, which is something I expected China to move on from. They have a huge pride, national pride future in the country, right? They want to get everything done that they can, but you see the Korean imports on both teams. But Scout versus Knight, they've been doing this forever. Oh, we'll get the sound on.
The LPL, but also competitive as a whole. I am just very curious that we get a game one Scout Nico here. We saw the plays and the replays, all the lead up to this, how strong he has been on this one, but it's going to require a big combo and execution as well.
And the bonus of having something like the Nico is that, I mean, for most of this year, the Nico would have been an Annie instead, something like that. It's an engaged threat from the mid lane. It threatens a backline. The thing is, it's not like you can't protect a backline. Something like that Alistar or Poppy, they can really make it difficult for Nico to find those consistent flanks. You need to find...
And all these guys, right? Literally all these guys can peel for Aphelios, even Jace.
To make sure that Scout can find the backline.
And if Scout can find the backline,
they die quickly.
big problem for JDG as a whole. I do want to
both these guys getting hit by
I think another
Q2s and Q3s.
The fact that Ruler is a dominant AC in his first splash into the LPL. In his first year, he's looking at back-to-back titles. Where on the other side, Gala himself has been trying to rebuild his legacy on this LNG roster as the new gun.
And it feels so unfair when you're facing a player like Ruler because you just don't think that anyone can outplay the situations that he does. Typically, the way that LPL teams have dealt with Ruler is by smashing him so hard in lane early, throwing all resources down towards bot lane, that he doesn't have the stats and items to outplay big team fights later on, because you know that he will consistently do that. When you have someone like Gala, you can at least...
Yep, Ruler's just on that level. Alright, so let's check it out. We got top to bottom pathing, Wukong full clear, Maokai full clear.
Does it quite like Ruler in the LPL right now.
There really isn't. I'm just glad that he doesn't have Xayah for game number one. This man has been a menace on that pick, but he does have his Aphelios, and we saw how many 200 years moments he's had.
He did get a pentakill.
He did get a pentakill, and you know, that's not too bad, not too bad. I love it though, because I think we talk about these big names. For me, the biggest name that has been kind of coming up in playoffs has been Zika up here in the top lane, and his matchup against 369 actually has a lot of importance in this series as a whole.
I love that you mentioned that, because I think for me, Zika, though he might not be the star player, as Engage comes in bot lane, not going to lead to anything, but Zika has been the most improved player.
Xayah Rakan going to win all these trades out.
Last time around,
surprised that Alistar's even looking for that, right? Because the only...
Zika got massively gapped by Shanji in that series. He might not be the star player, as Engage comes in bot lane, not going to lead.
The only moment that you win is like the upfront, right? And so I see what the idea is, right? So Alistar's gonna step out. He's saying, all right, I know Rakan's moving up. I'm gonna get the dash back. I should be able to get a double knockup. But even if you do, you're only chewing through shield here on Rakan. You've got the empowered auto attacks from Xayah Rakan. And they're just going to win this trade. So going in here is a little bit of a mistake. The best thing you can do is actually just headbutt Gala and make it so that Rakan doesn't have a way out. Be able to chunk him a little bit harder and then come back. And right there, this is just nothing, right? Like that headbutt, that combo does basically nothing. The shield's already out there, so you're just stringing yourself out. Basically, gives up 30% of his HP for nothing. Jace using his HP as a resource, potentially seeing that they've got the idea that Wukong is down bot before them. So Maokai's going to come over, get Prio on mid lane, help Jace go out and try to get a trade out, but he is out of mana now, so he's going to have to be able to push this and back out, which is what he's doing. Maokai's going to trade that resource for coming forward. Wukong confirms that Maokai starts on the south quadrant, gets this ward down so he'll be able to see the second route going through, and we'll see if Maokai tries to steal Krugs here, right? This is something that's pretty common. Wukong definitely getting the faster backs. You're going to see all in all that he's got about a 12-second head start on the Maokai, and all Maokai really accomplished was helping to get Jace out of that set and getting a recall, which is not nothing, right? That's something. But Wukong can have a big tempo advantage here. Now also with these wards down, Maokai will spot Wukong a little bit sooner. There's nothing for Poppy to worry about. You see that Poppy takes the recall right there at the moment where Wukong could have the head start going into top lane. Going in together, it looks like this, and this is a big key, right? You top laners, especially when the wave's going to be coming back, you want to come out here anyways. You want to be able to put wards down, you want to be able to sweep, and you want to do it without them seeing whether or not you've purchased something like a control ward, right? So he may not opt to do it because the Squire's Bloom didn't show anything. He decides to keep it in his inventory, but that would be an option, right? When you're moving up there, disguise it, put the control ward out someplace. Wouldn't mind seeing it somewhere like in this nook, especially since Wukong later could come over here. It's not a huge dive threat, combination of K'Sante and Wukong, but it is there. And you see the dividends here that we get placing that ward 90 seconds ago before Wukong goes topside. He sees Maokai in the second run. Now this Giant Spell first from Maokai definitely means that he's looking for fights. Wukong's going to spike hard off that Divine Sunder and spike harder on the fights on 6 than Maokai is. So you see that Maokai with that choice is saying, hey, I want to be able to go into fights right now. It does slow down your clear by a fairly significant amount. So I'm actually kind of surprised, especially if you could have gotten something like Blasting Wand plus Control Ward. Now he may have had exactly 900, not 925. It'd be interesting to see that. But that damage definitely, it does add up. K'Sante getting some fantastic trades here off the Poppy. Now with Wukong on this side of the map, we're going to look over are we going to get any kind of copies here? Pretending to be Xayah as you go out, that's fine. That's a good tendency to have, right? Pretend to be the AD carry. That way, if your bot lane does come into the river with you, you have potential to obfuscate your position. You can see this permanent push. Xayah's always going to have the push advantage here. They're going to take the dragon for their efforts. Maokai's going to trade top scuttle, and K'Sante is going to make sure to get a recall timer in. Now, if Maokai does have the heads up on this dragon, which he should, he could go after this red, but with K'Sante and Nico both going for recalls, instead he's going to pop back into his western quadrant. May try to get something as simple as a ward out. But instead just opts like, nah, that's too predictable. Let them waste any amount of time coming here. And you see Nico kind of being forced to check. Now, slight imprecision there from Nico. If you go out there and at the extension of the duration, you press the recall button, you'd be able to hold Nico out there a little bit longer. And that could give you a window to potentially see the Maokai if they were going to steal. I don't know what caused that. So now we end up with on the rebound, Poppy coming back, gets the shopping, finishes the Bami Cinder, and goes for an invade here. Now they do spend a lot of resources and they're not getting anything, so this is actually a pretty big loss in momentum. Aphelios is going to be stuck down bottom. Now, I expect Alistar to come over to make this as miserable of a time to secure the Herald as possible while Aphelios gets solo resources, and that's exactly what they're doing. Alistar's going to come over. Now, the number one thing that you're going to do is first get mid prio, try to send people through mid. You could use Maokai ult to force them back and then say, hey, we're going to come into the river together. That is one way to secure pressure in on the Herald, is to lop off some of their resources. Now here's what you see. Missing's coming in on Alistar. He's going to make a nuisance. It's like, hey, if you guys screw up even a little bit, I'm going to punish you, and we may actually look for something. We get a flash from Rakan. That's going to be a big deal. Nico, they're going in on the Nico, means they're going to take everything. Now Xayah did come back from this, so they actually have the numbers if they get upfront damage to actually take this fight, but it looks like we're going to get First Blood popped up, then traded 1-for-1. But big win for JDG. Oh, Hong getting one back. That's insane. That's so good for them. But the big winner out of this really is Ruler, getting 3 plates for himself in on the bot lane. And so I like that move, and really I'm just very surprised that LNG didn't stick to it. It's like they thought, hey, shoot, no, the plan is that we need to stick resources in Ruler's face to make sure that we can gank him out of the game. And wait, he's down alone. Let's go back, right? So watch the Xayah right here. Xayah's pathing bottom. The moment that they notice Xayah's not here, this play becomes a profit for blue, right? Because Xayah's really doing nothing. Aphelios this whole time has gotten waves and gotten damage on the turret. The moment they see Xayah, you see that the go button is pressed by the Maokai. Now, one of the tricks you can do with Nico is use the clone to block the tendrils and make sure that you're not getting rooted up. I'm very surprised in this angle that they got that we didn't end up with more action from the Cassante. It looks like the scatter on the fight was actually not the best possible. And then this trade right here, the fact that Rakan is able to get one more is a pretty big deal. But when you're trading and you're talking about two assists, 3 people taking credit for a kill and a Jace getting a kill compared to a Rakan, it's still ultimately worth. It's a better net, and the fact that Aphelios was getting that much bigger. So we have a huge lead in JDG right now. Not going to show up on the scoreboard just yet, and they do have the Herald that will be their compensation in the form, LNG's compensation here. But the problem is that you got all those resources onto the Aphelios that's going to be able to springboard themselves into this mid game. Now, one of the things talking about Poppy and Bami Cinder, we've been championing Poppy top for a long time. Basically, she's been stronger than when she was blue 1 prio. Like 4 years ago. She's in a stronger state than she was even back then, and more of the champions that she's good against are meta. She should have been played a lot more, right? But she gets played a lot in the jungle. That makes sense. It's fine. But in the top lane, this is where I think she's strongest. And one of the things that you can do in this top lane Poppy, right, when you get Bami Cinder, use the Bami's to keep the aggro, and then you use the grasp on your ranged auto attack, right? So you're staying in combat without pushing and without you having to use your empowered auto attack, and that can sort of zone off the enemy laners. Now, slight little imprecision right here. He's not actually going to get full plates. Should have stayed for 2 more autos. That's going to be a big enough difference. No, he ends up getting it just enough. All right. Ends up getting it because the Jace hits. If he had finished that recall, would not have finished the 3rd plate. Ends up getting the 3rd plate. Could have stayed for 1 more auto. Definitely 2 for the immediate secure. Oh, look at that bonus. You see Xayah immediately. The moment that Rakan jumps in, Xayah is always going to turn on the empowered auto attacks, so you get that big upfront damage. So now that Herald is popped, you're going to see that that's the full value, right? So 0.7, that's everything that they've got in their pockets for this play. The problem is that the money and the experience has already gone over to Aphelios. So with an XP lead over here, still a losing position until you consolidate into that completed item and you have that advantage for yourself. Now, interesting, I see 2 recurved bows here from Xayah. I don't know. I haven't studied Gala. I don't know if that's something that they intend to do. Good little lesson showing that they're not going to overcommit for a control ward. Hey, it's there. It'd be nice. It's a fun little prize to have. But like if you're the team that needs to play back, you don't actually win anything by getting that control ward. You get a little bit of golden experience. Yes, that's great, but you're not really looking to aim that ward all the way out. And you see, beautifully done with the ward out of range. They end up having to use sweeper, maximum distance, right? Not putting it in here, but getting it right on the ledge, knowing exactly how far those wards see. So well done. Even the little things by JDG all coming through. And that's what you expect from a super team like this, right? Everybody is individually so good. Let's tighten the screws, make sure that all the pieces are intact. Now we're going to see a proxy here from 369 most likely. Might go for a fast back. But yeah, going over here, going to get a proxy, knowing that the red team was over at Dragon. But you see, now that we have the Hex Gates, this actually might become a problem because Rakan's coming over and is not seen right here. Point blank, so there's no travel time, is able to beat 369 on the block, but it doesn't really amount to anything. You see the early finish on Demonic Embrace. Maokai is basically full items right here. That makes their clear nice and quick. Aphelios already moving over into the lane. They get Jason to the side lane. They want Jace for the faster wave clear. They're going to centralize Aphelios. They're already down 2 dragons, and it's time to influence the scaling in the game. Keep your solos in the side. Keep your carry and your support near the middle of the map so that they're able to influence these plays if needed. LNG not shying away. Not shying away from Cassante despite all the nerfs. I mean, this is back on 13-13, so I do believe there's one more nerf that they dodged from this position. Cassante just offering so many things, just such a safe laner. You can play strong side or weak side with Cassante, and then obviously has the modal effects in the mid game. Teleporting to the control ward to keep it alive. After the commit, here we go. Maokai ultimate is in good shape. Let's see. Poppy ultimate is canceled. Kanavi gets a hit. No, not enough damage coming through. Good peel there. All right, so Cassante threatening on the left side, forcing JDG into a little bit of a split fight. End up losing Maokai, but they trade it for Scout on Nico, so definitely worth trade, and they get the Rift Herald for themselves. And here's where we see the Aphelios stiff, right? Those big fights, Aphelios just offers something that no other AD does, which is the big full-on area of effect damage to lead out a fight. Now see how they decide to consolidate from here. Both teams willing to teleport over this. Rakan already dashing in, trying to have the charm ready on the arrival of Poppy. Now we do get an ultimate. Yeah, there we go. There's the peel. Maokai's dead. Traded though. Yeah, absolutely good. Could have gotten more from Zika actually, now that we see it. Zika could have been forcing in. Did not realize that the rest of the team was forced that far over to the right. Could have come in, and I believe still had ultimate available. So actually could have swung that fight. That's a missed opportunity by LNG. Baiting in with the double teleports. Now Poppy from here on out not going to have any problems with wave clear. Probably going to be going Iceborne Gauntlet second, just to be able to hold down these champions even a little bit longer. But may go for something a little bit tankier, right? Might go even something like Even Shroud, just saying, hey, like, I've got one target, I bop them into my team, that's all we need to get. Now Kanavi's going to try to show up in these areas, get the saplings as far in. The question is, do they feel like they're strong enough with Aphelios right now on this part of the build? It looks like he's going to be going Gale Force. They do lock down Hong. They're actually going to be using Maokai ultimate as well. Gala flashing backwards to make sure, because realizing that there's 3 champions in range there. Perhaps should have soaked that damage for the Rakan, but they actually get out just fine. All right, so pressure coming in, dragons in. Let's see if we go for deep vision in the southern quadrant as LNG. They actually have found themselves a little bit of a lead. Zaya's feeling really good on 194 CS, 18 minutes into the game. So this is about as big as you can hope to get, and a kill. About as big as you can hope to get as an AD carry here. Cassante going to have a fairly big lead also here. 40 CS over the Poppy, which is a tremendous advantage. Finished the Iceborne Gauntlet and has the majority of Sunfire. Now let's see if they use this Herald as a decoy. Now Cassante is totally fine to keep this. This is not enough to kill the entire turret. So Cassante could stick around, but they're opting to go for the fight. Nico's got the flank, goes in with Rocket Belt and Flash. Let's see, we've got a tale of 2 different fights going on. Wukong's trying his best to be in the middle and trying to be a nuisance, but look at that Maokai damage. Holy crap. Everybody's surviving with just hairline CS, but this is where Cassante is just absolutely a beast. This stage of the game, so hard to beat him. Saying we got a piece of Alistar here too. Going back to finish the dragon, they've got themselves the win. 2 dragons to none, using the teleport right now as well, saying, hey, we're going to secure this. I actually want to fight for this dragon. Expending teleport right now, getting that bottom wave into the turret is actually a fantastic tempo play, and it's bringing Nico into position. Now spells are on cooldown, and Hong is not quite in there. Yeah, but they're expending both their teleports. We'll see if there's an answer from JDG. What you could do as an answer is let them have this dragon, right? But they're saying, hey, we can take this fight. I don't like this play from JDG. It's a little bit too late. And now you're giving up the one advantage that you had, which was that you had a 2 teleport advantage window for about 4 minutes. Instead, they're only going to have 1 TP. That means Jace is going to have to be a little bit closer. We'll see if they can use this to their advantage. They should be able to, with a teleport lead, get bot lane outer turret. They probably can't get the inner. Ruler flashing away from the Nico. Well played. Constantly moving off to the side. Here we go, going for priority targets. Gosh, Jace just basically getting one shot by Cassante. Using walls to get a little bit extra distance there. Let's see if we can skip this pause. So yeah, when you're using that wall, as long as you can get more than 50% of the way over the wall, it'll slingshot you over the rest. All right, here we go. So 3 dragons. LNG has carved themselves out a way to win. The strong bot lane has done it for them. Faster pacing, tempo from the Wukong has gotten them into position. Now, the one thing I want to get is this teleport window, right? We've got about 2.5 minutes left on Nikos and 3 minutes left on Cassante. Are they able to push bottom with that teleport window? The problem is that Poppy is so much weaker than Cassante at this point. And so is late to the rotation, even giving up the entire turret. And in this position where you're supposed to have this teleport advantage where you can create 5v4s, they're actually just buckling. Now, if you're JDG, what you basically have to do is Hail Mary here. All right, because if they get out of this situation and they've got the advantage in every lane and they're able to go over to control Baron, then they basically have you in checkmate. It's a squeeze. It's like a material advantage in chess, like having a 2-pawn advantage. And they'll just squeeze out your resources. But if instead you can go for this Hail Mary and say, hey, let's send everybody over. Let's just contest right now. Teleport the Poppy over and force them to deal with 5. See if we can make something happen in the 25 seconds it takes Cassante to move on over. And hopefully, at the very least, secure ourselves a good wave state in bottom at the same time to maybe get a rebound. Maybe get something that's big enough to take down some turrets. But not able to take that. Instead, they opt to just clear these waves. Now they're going off. Now Poppy is going to stay down here. Cassante has said, we're going to consolidate our lead into this topside river. Now, you basically have to double down and go for Baron here. Mid lane Prio first. Might go for turret second, but definitely going to be looking at the Baron position. Rocket Belt's down, which means Nico's not looking for any sort of engage, and it looks like they're using that to reset. So once you see the Rocket Belt from the Nico, you know that she's not looking for any major fights, and you know that the call has already come out that they're going to readjust the lanes. So they survive that little pinch. They do give up kind of the maximum. Poppy does get a lot for free in a position where she didn't necessarily earn it for herself. She is going Jock Show, by the way, knowing that they're going to be in the middle of this fight. Potentially lots of knockups between Cassante, Nico, Wukong, Rakan. There's just so much chain CC, and you're jumping in the middle of that team. You know that there's going to be some action, but knowing that is Poppy with the extra stats, steadfast presence, going to be able to hold their own. Maokai is going with Radiant Virtue. Makes a lot of sense. They're saying, hey, we're going to commit to these all-in fights. Now, the shape of the fight, it's going to be a little bit different. JDG very much looking to find a target, hold in, and sort of do like a battering ram approach. Go forward with Maokai and Poppy, not necessarily looking to flash, and saying, we're going to hold this area, and Radiant Virtue is best in those situations. But the problem is then you're going to open up flank windows for Wukong and Cassante. Ignite goes down to no avail. Rakan's going to take their recall, replenish their wards, and come on in. Now, you see from the Rakan, look at the priority on staying alive for this team, knowing that the fights are going to be a little bit longer. Going for Radiant Virtue and Merc Treads. Not going for Lucid Boots, not going for Speed, not going for Proto Belt or anything like that. Or, I mean, obviously not Proto Belt, but Shrelia's Reverie. Now, this matchup eventually will swing and be just fine for the Poppy. Basically, the Q2 deals so much damage that Poppy will be able to hold on for themselves. The problem is that once you do get to that full length fight and you start getting below 30%, Cassante can just flip and basically just keep you locked up. and Bubble Yacht. So small wins for Poppy is what she's looking to get. Small wins, rotate, small wins, push. Totally happy with where she's at right now with the Jack Show in those fights. Very good decision for these 1v1s. But you're going to see Cassante is going to be very capable of holding down some space. Now we see a commitment here. I don't know if I like that at all. Thinking that he could use those resources to get the turret, finish the turret, and then use the ultimate to get on out, but doesn't realize that Poppy's coming on over as well. So now we're going to have a huge tempo loss from Zika. But Cassante does have teleport available. Turret is on by a thread. Now that thread can be the difference between being able to complete this item and not being able to complete it. It looks like we're not going to have completed items, and let's see with the fight here, teleport's coming in early. No completed item for Cassante, and the all-out is gone. Scout's looking for the flank window, is swapping over, pretending to be Xayah, makes a lot of sense. Flash is over the Alistar headbutt, but now it doesn't have flash anymore, and the team's not hooking up. Where's the repositioning? That is very, very poor teamfight positioning from LNG. It's like they had split calls, not realizing that Scout was going to be in there, and suddenly JDG is going to slingshot themselves back into the lead here. That is a huge team mistake. Let's go back and show. So right here, as we're committing, the Poppy knocking away the Xayah is the big difference, and this is where they're trying to call out. And you see how far away Xayah is in the fight, and there's just nothing left to go. If you're making a committal play like this, you have to prioritize not getting hit by Poppy, right? So you can see on the minimap, Xayah, boom, flying away. 2 people actually get knocked up and knocked out of the fight. That's why they have to call back. They're unable to secure the cancel on the Poppy ultimate, and that's what makes this play so bad here for LNG. If they dodge that ultimate, they can win this. But the question that you have to beg them right there, is it worth it if we get so blown out by one Poppy ultimate? Is it worth even trying for it? There would be nothing wrong with just popping over that wall using normal straight front to back, slight diagonal angles, but instead they end up giving up a kill, giving up the dragon, and now all the momentum's going to be in the side of JDG. And Aphelios is looking massive with 2.5 items. The biggest, basically from here on out, Aphelios feels great, right? You've got completed Gale Force, you've got Kraken Slayer, you've got Last Whisper. Is that no, it's not. It's the Q damage from Maokai. Oh, and we have a contest. This is so difficult. They're throwing the game away at the Baron Pit with no Nico. What are you doing? Oh, we got to talk about some shot calling here, LNG. JDG stoic as always, business as usual. Game's not done till it's done, but man, this past 90 seconds has been everything that they've wanted. All right, so now all the resources off the map. We're going to see a replay. All right, well, let's just watch the replay. Now, this was coinciding, right? They used Rakan to set up Nico. They get multiple knockups onto Ruler, but it's just not enough because the damage is gone. Nico can't one-shot, and you see the surrounding peel, right? Good spacing around the carry and saying, hey, we're just going to do everything we can to pop out. Double knockups, triple knockups there, bounce house going on, and then Poppy puts up the walls, making sure you're not going to be able to dash out, and just so good. There you go, Jack Show cleaning up. Good position there by Poppy. All right, so they get the resets. They've taken the resources. They're going to look for wards in the eastern quadrant. They're going to push mid and bottom, prioritizing getting this bot lane inhibitor down, right? So you use mid, very, very difficult to siege against mid, again, especially against Xayah, who has such a good set of tools for self-peel. Scout going for the big engage. Now they have Ruler, but has to use the stopwatch. They don't quite have all the kills. They're going to spend everything they possibly can to kill Ruler here, but they just don't have it. That's going to be game. What a play by Ruler. Look at this position. You could slow this down. This is an entire clinic on how to play AD carry right here. And this is what they were talking about in the pregame. Ruler will find a way to outplay the fights. Best team fighting AD carry in the history of the game. And it's 4 people dead. They're going to come up here. They're going to tank the turrets. We'll see. Should be Maokai taking or Poppy. Either one. No, they're letting the minions do it. Okay. Maokai going and taking 1 for the team. Ruler stepping up, saying, no, I'm stepping up. Look at me. I've got the damage. Full healing. Full send. And they get this Nexus. But holy crud, that was a good team fight play by Ruler. And they get out.